So what is this track? Was this track meant to be for the album that you're working on, that you've just released? Or is this something that you're working on for another album?
It's a new track I made at the end of the process of the production of the album. I wanted to have it on the record, but I didn't have enough time.
Okay.
So I play it on stage because I like the track, but it will be for a next record. Okay. It's a track very simple. The idea was at the beginning was to compose very quickly. So at the beginning I just play the drum track. I'm gonna show you. I begin with that.
Ah, okay.
It's one of my favorite one. It's a drum track by Sequential Circuit, and so I made the demo of this track with the beatbox, with the bass, which is the first instrument I played when I began music. I was playing bass with Nicolas and Jean Benoit from Air in a teenage band called Orange. So this is my real instruments where I come from.
So were you playing that when you were playing with the Air Boys?
No, it was not this one. It was a real cheaper one.
Okay.
And so I'm not a really good guitar player, but when I begin for this new album and for songs like that, I decided to forget a little the samples and to really go back with the guitar and the composition on piano and guitars. So a track like this one was composed with these two instruments, but with guitar. Even if I'm a really bad guitar player, I try to have the basic chords, and after that to give to good guitarists the part to play. On this, the track is a work in progress track. So I have the main thing. I have the bass line, which is really important for me, and I play the guitar. But I think I will ask to my guitarist Pierrick to play it in a better way. And so when I made the track, I recorded the drum track, but sometimes I prefer to add real acoustic stuff from drums, and that's the case here. I recorded a real hi-hat to have something which is not only a machine, and to have the something which is somebody you can't. Sometimes you can't hear if it's a real drummer or a programmation, and I try to melt real things. And this hi-hat is coming from the beatbox, from the drum track.
So how was this? Was this sequenced within here and then just straight into?
Yes, it depends. Sometimes I make a real simple sequence, and after I can edit it in Pro Tools. Or sometimes I really compose the entire sequence in the drum track. But it's not so easy with these vintage machines. So sometimes very simple boom jack, and after editing in the Pro Tools can be easy. I can't remember for this one. Perhaps I used just the sound, and I've done everything. We can see that there is small square in the Pro Tools, so I've done editings on the drums. And for the bass, that's the same thing. I have two bass, just because at the beginning there is the bass of the demo that I played, and it's a very simple sound. I just plug the bass in a sans amp pedal. Do you know this stuff? And just go in the sans amp, and in the modulator there is a big flanger on it, which is coming from the lines, the blue lines. And after that, I wanted to have something more warm, and so I asked Lionel to come with this big Ampeg amplifier, and we did this one to have a better sound. and I decided to add. I don't know if I don't know yet if I will put some flanger on it, but I decided to keep the opportunity to add it later. So on the
What was the process of recording the Ampeg? Was it mic'd?
Yes.
Or which mic? What mic?
I used for the Ampeg. I think it was I put two mics, the SM57 and an Audio Technica 4033, and a line 2, and it was a mix between both. I think this is the track we are listening. This is just the amp, but I have a track just with the DI too.
Okay.
So sometimes I try to make the mix between the different sounds before, not to have too many tracks in the Pro Tools. But for this song, I knew that there won't be a lot of instruments, so I decided to keep the DI and the mic,
Okay.
the mic take.
So what's next on the track? What are you looking to add? And EQs and the compression.
When I record even the instruments, even for the beats, even for everything, I always go, before going to the Pro Tools, I always go through the Universal Audio preamp and to the Universal Audio 1176 Blue Stripe compressor, after in the desk and after in the Pro Tools. So that's the main path of everything that I'm recording in the Pro Tools. Everything is going through this.
Every single track.
Yes, every single track before being recorded in the Pro Tools. So when the music is in the Pro Tools, it's still warm. I try to give this warmness and something sometimes not so well done recorded. Sorry for my English, but with a strong character. And so after that, to mix the tracks, I just go through the tridents, and because I don't have a lot of compressors, I try to have done the compressor on each track before recording.
Okay.
I just use a stereo compressor on the mix, the drummer, which is on the stereo signal.
Okay. So do you find that can cause any problems afterwards if you overcompress or?
Yes, very often. But at the same time, I prefer that. I prefer to have something which is too much compressed.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to deal with some troubles because you have some text which is not perfect, but it gives character to the music, you know. And for the same example, very often I decide to erase from the hard disk some stuff, not to have too much choice, because you have to take decision. And I think if you have more than 16 tracks for a song, there is a problem. Yeah, I think if with 16 tracks you are able to do a real good song. If you have more than that, it's the proof that there is a real problem. So that's always an obsession, not to have too many tracks, and try to record the track with the compression, and after that just to use the EQ, which is quite simple on the trident. You have just treble and two mids and a low, and sometimes to use some plugins.
What are favourite plugins? What are your favourite plugins on there?
Compressors, of course.
Okay.
Sometimes DAQ, but yes, I have this one, which are not so chirurgical, but I like EQs like that, which are giving color more than to correct. It's to give color, and that's the best thing for me from an EQ. And so my favorite one, which one do I use in this track, for example? The 1176.
What track's that on?
I think that's the snare drum. Yes, the snare. Even if I recorded it with mine, I added another one during the mixing process.
How do you find that compares to the hardware
That's not the
version?
same. It's not a. It's just another compressor. You know, it's not so bad. It's not so good. It's good enough. It's really good, but it's not the same thing. It's just a good compressor, but not the same. And I like this one too. The real simple design ones. You know, I'm working with the old Pro Tools. I don't have enough money to buy a HD one, so I'm working with the old one, but I'm very happy with it. And I like the very simple plugins from DigiDesign. The simple compressor is really good, and the EQ too. Sometimes you don't need to have something too complicated. Something simple like that can be enough. You know.
So is this the simple method of working as sort of a new thing for you from super discount days, or?
Yes, it's because before working this desk and before working with the Pro Tools, I was working with Cubase, with O2R from Yamaha, and the main instrument was the sampler. So of course the process of recording and mixing was really different. And Etienne, my partner, Etienne de Crécy, was the first to buy an old analog desk. And when we heard the sound, we said to ourselves, well, since 10 years we are using Yamaha, and there is this desk and they are so much better, you know. Okay, Yamaha is really good. You know, for example, I mixed my well-known track, The Child, was mixed on Yamaha 01. No,
1V.
Yes,
Yeah.
the first. No, the V, the first one,
Oh,
01.
yeah.
The Pro Mix.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Pro Mix, exactly. And I was very happy with the sound, and it was incredible to do the record and stuff like that. But after all these years using this equipment, I was so happy to rediscover the distortion and you know, something you can't have when you go to.
Do you want to give us some examples of,
Yes,
of what
of
the desk can do?
I'm gonna play the snare because I always do that on the snare. Solo. If you go too far away in the gain, you have something with the snare which is perhaps here too much, but something that you can't have with digital desk. This is just the gain. Just with playing with the gain, you are changing the sound. And the distortion is beautiful, you know. It's not a bad digital distortion. So this thing, the fact that you can change how the desk will respond because of the gain you are going in, it's really important. Even for the voice, I'm quite ashamed to make you listen my voice because it's.
Don't worry.
But I always do that with the voice to add some.
Yeah, great.
Yes, exactly. So it was the main difference for me between digital and analog, the fact that you can go too far and too high in the desk and add some beautiful distortion. Sorry, I'm going up and down.
Okay. So what are the other? Do you go outboard a lot into the line sixes then, in terms of for this track particularly? Where do you think things are going to be added?
Not so much. Of course, I have some peripherals to add some reverb or some delays. This is my main delay. I use it on the voice, of course, on guitars too. Sometimes to add some stereo.
Could we hear some examples of it? Of what you would maybe do, just as an idea? Maybe not.
I'm gonna try. It's not the main. So just with adding some, you can find some cool colors and some stereo spread.
So what's the setting that you've got on the delay there?
This is the analog with modulation
Okay.
setup, and I use this one very often on vocals too, vocals and guitars. And when we mixed the album with Etienne, we used a lot of Mod Pro for the voice, for my voice, to add something which is like which setting was that? This, it was the rotary drum, so it's not at all for the voice at the beginning, but we use it. I'm gonna make you listen this setting on the voice. I'm gonna try. So it's something which is not so far away from a Leslie, you know, this cabinet which is turning, to add some something, I don't know how to explain the result that I want with this kind of effect, but something that which is not so evident as an effect, you know, not a big reverb or
Subtle.
Exactly, subtle. And this preset is really good on what was working good on my voice.
Can we hear that again?
Yes, of course. It's subtle, so it's a little too much here, but it's too much, but that's the idea. And after that, as a main effect I use on tracks, is this one. It's spring reverb. Can we listen it?
A little bit, you can hear it a little bit.
And this is really cheap one. This one is really cheap, but you can have with this kind of reverb sounds that you can't have with digital one. I'm gonna try to make you listen. This kind of reverb, you can have that with a digital one. And I have an EQ on it. And with Etienne on the album, we used this reverb on every track. Sometimes we decided to record the reverb to have the opportunity of using it on another track. Again, it's too much.
So would you be putting that reverb on the vocals on this track, do you think?
Excuse me?
Will you be putting that reverb on the vocals?
On this track, I don't know. It's always difficult to, and that's why the mixing process is long, because you are trying things, and you can't be sure that something will work on a track. If you don't try, you never know.
So that's your method of working is get the tracks down.
Exactly.
And then play with your gear and just spend time.
Exactly. Spend time, and if something is not good, I mean, if you at the end of the day you are not happy, the idea is not to come back the day after and change. The idea is to break everything and do it again. Sometimes it's much better to to spend like 3 hours trying to have something which is good, record it, and after you break everything and you do it again. I don't believe in 48 hours of mixing one track and searching. I think it's much more important to find the musicality, to find the good balance. For me, the most important thing, more than compressors or more than peripherals, just a good balance between the instruments. And I can do that in 5 minutes, but in half an hour you can find a balance which seems to be good, and that's the most important thing.
Do you want to give us a quick balance?
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a partner. It's quite easy balance.
When you go, that's too loud, too quiet, just...
So I began with the kick and the bass, just to find the right balance of bass between kick and bass, and after that do the volume of the snare and the hi-hat. And there is no effect at all on the drums and the bass, and I put some spring reverb on the keyboard, which is the MS-20, the old Korg one. But for this track, I know that I have to do again the main guitar, which is not sounding enough warm and fast.
How was that recorded, the guitar?
Just direct, because I wanted to
have, yes, just get it down.
Exactly. So for example, here the delay is not in the right position. It's good for the tempo, but that's too easy. I would like to have something shorter. Important thing for me, as you see, I'm working with the compressor, and I'm working with the compressor during the mix. I mean, I don't add the compressor at the end. For me, when you mix, you work between the volume you have between the instruments and the response of the compressor. It's very important to have it during the preparation and during
kind of working against it and with it.
Exactly.
Have you always worked like that? Have you always done
that
since you went analog?
Since, of course, yes, and
compression, yeah.
Because I realized when I was working as a mastering engineer that when you add compression after the process of mixing, you can't have the same result than when you put the compressor during the mix. And sometimes engineers or producers asked me to have the same effect that the effect you can have when you put the compressor during the mix, and that's impossible.
Right.
So it's very important to have, at the end of a mix, to have the if you want something, if you have something like a pump with the compression, you need to have it at the end of the mix. If you don't have it, you won't be able to add it after. So it's very important. Perhaps that's not the best compressor to use on a mix, but for the moment, this is the only one I can buy. Perhaps later I will buy another one. But I'm really happy with it because it's not so, because it's a little cheap. You can hear it, and you know, sometimes really expensive compressors are so good that you can't hear what they are doing. So I'm quite happy with cheap compressors, and they are not working anymore. I have a problem with them, but it's a really important tool for me. I discovered them in mastering too. It's a Neumann EQ, and they are really good. Very simple, like on a hi-fi amplifier, you know, a treble, bass, and medium, but so musical and so good. So it was an important tool during the mixing of the album. Just to
again, like your compressor, that's something you're tweaking with constantly.
Exactly,
okay.
during the mix, not something to.
So would you say you're almost mastering on the fly because of your experience as a mastering engineer?
Yes, but even if I don't try to have something finished, you know, now there is a lot of engineers who are working with limiters and to have a volume which is the same than on a CD, and I think that's a mistake. I want to keep this very important part of the job, which is mastering, and so I don't mind about volume and about perceived volume.
Okay.
I just try to have the good sound for my studio, and I know that the sound in my studio is not perfect. You know, there is not a good acoustic, but if it's good here, it will be possible to have a good result after with the mastering in other rooms. Okay. You know, there is of course problems of acoustic problems in my room of bass and stuff like that, but I forget that. I don't try to go against this problem. It will be the job of the mastering engineer to go against this.
So do you take these tracks into another studio for a final mix, or are they final mix here and then?
No, of course I will mix it here, and all the album was mixed here or in the Etienne studio. It's something that I learned from electronic music. The do-it-yourself process is something that permits you to be original and to be personal, and to have your own sound and your own sound personality. That's very important. When we had the label Solid and when we produced other artists with Etienne, we went to big studios, and we were never happy because you don't have time, because you are paying a lot of money, so you are obliged to go quickly, and so you are never happy with the result, and you don't know very well the room, you don't know how the speakers are sounding, you don't know the desk as good as you know your desk, so that's why I decided to put some money in my equipment, because I knew that for me it will be possible to mix my albums and my music in my own studio without going in biggest one.
Okay. Should we go back to track and let's
Yes.
hear how it's sounding? So we had the delays going on the guitar there,
Yes.
and you said you want those. They were getting quicker.
So I just
Speed up the tempo.
speed up thank you, the time with the same. This is something which is quite good with this delay. I have a synchronization, MIDI synchronization between the Pro Tools and the delay. So I have the tempo which is automatic here,
Yeah.
coming from the track. Sometimes I decided to switch off this particularity, because sometimes you want something which is not in tempo. It's better sometimes to have something which is out of tempo. So we were working with that.
balancing the vocals with the guitar and so on there.
Excuse me?
You're just balancing the vocals and the guitar.
Exactly, there is something with the medium. There is not so many things in the medium in this track. There is the synthesizer, the MS-20, the voice, and the guitar, and sometimes the backing vocals. So one of the difficulties is to have something which is at the same time melted, but at the same time with the
space between.
Yes, exactly. But of course it's impossible. You know, I'm happy with the balance we have now, but I'm not. It's impossible to mix a track in 10 minutes.
No, obviously, we're not looking for you to finish it. Don't worry.
But in fact, that's the way I try to do, to mix it in 10 minutes. And after you take some time to adjust the EQs and to. But it's very important to have something very quickly, which is not so far away from something which could be mixed. That's not finished, but that's a good beginning.
So have you got the processing on the vocals there? Just
yes,
the distortion?
I put the gain, and I put some of the modulation. This famous what's the name? Rotary
drum. Yeah.
Rotary drum on the voice.
Oh, cool.